Okay, welcome to the January 10th review. Let's take a quick look at the sectors. So starting with SPX, we are looking pretty healthy here so far. Let's start with the weekly charts. So nothing to complain about. We are above the anchored VWAP where we started the sell-off in the beginning of the year. And we are also above the 5-week. So far in this week, we are looking to close above the 5-week. It is important to note that tomorrow is CPI. So, I mean, options are not pricing in too much volatility for this event. So if it is kind of within the bounds of what is expected, then we should not see much volatility. And so far looks like the bullish trend will continue. However, the opinions will change if, for example, the CPI comes out of line and we start to lose the anchored VWAP here and the 5-week moving average, then it would be a place to revisit and rethink the thesis so far. But so far, it looks to be more on the bullish side. If we take a look at the daily, we can see that this was December 28th, so end of the year was somewhere around the 4789, so 4790 mark. So this would act as a resistance. If we were to rally into the CPI, this would start acting as resistance. The 4790, and if you give some room for stop losses, so 4800 mark would be kind of a critical level that we're approaching in S&P. QQQ, let's take a look here. So based on this trend line, let's just correct it a little bit here. Based on this trend line, we have some room to run up until the 417, and which could happen if the CPI comes in line. We have some room to run over here, but that would start now acting as resistance. However, what is important to note that we are above kind of this channel that we are drawn. So above that, if you look on a longer term scale, as long as we're above these trend lines, we are pointing more bullish here. And what would invalidate that? What would invalidate that is similar to S&P. If we start to lose this anchored VWAP and the 5-week moving average, then we have to rethink that thesis and start thinking more towards the downside. Long-term trend would still be bullish, but in the short term, we would start looking at maybe some pullback here, which could then trigger something we were talking about early in the year, trigger the top, check back to the top of the trend line, and then proceed further, or check back and fail and get back into this channel. Okay, so we'll keep our minds open and ready for both of these scenarios. You can see XLK. XLK approached this consolidation area here, and demand really picked up. Buyers came in. So far, they have actually pulled, let's see, 5-week is sitting at 189.96, and we are at 189.87. So we are currently, as we speak, contesting with that 5-week moving average in XLK in the tech sector. And, the end of the week would tell us if we are able to take that and move forward, move above the 5-week, or if we fail and they start acting as resistance and the sellers take control and bring this back down. So should be ready for either case in XLK. XLP, nothing new to report here, so I'll keep it pretty brief. That, as we talked before, there is resistance here, so we're going to wait for that breakout before we consider XLP for now. XLP is staples, consumer staples. Coming to semiconductors, even today we were not able to take this take and close into the gap here. We tried again. We tried yesterday and we closed right below it. We tried again today, and so far we're closing below or prices below it. So a close into this area and above this area would be good for the SMH, for the semiconductor bulls. We can see there is some consolidation. There is some previous buyers and sellers kind of making decisions in this level. So this is an important level that'll act as resistance, and we need to get through for it to continue the trend here. But a failure here, so a failure of, let's see on the weekly first. The 5-week is sitting for SMH at 171.9, and we're currently at 172.21. So a break of the 5-week could start acting as so just put an alert at the 5-week moving average. So a break of 5-week would alert us that the SMH is moving below that. Actually, let me correct that. Anyways, I'll do that after the video. Let's proceed. IWM, small caps, Russell 2000, still not being able to take the 5-week moving average. So, and same with the mid caps. XBI, it was interesting today. We had a bit of a sell-off here in XBI. So if you look at the daily, you can see that this resistance box that we were drawn based on these transactions that peaked out back in 2022, still acting as resistance. And today, with the market being a little bit, tad bit weak, we did see a pullback here in XBI of about 2%, and that sellers kind of took control. So a close into this area and then definitely above this area would be bullish. So first step is to close into the red box and then maintain these moving averages so that the trend is maintained in XBI. So a close watch here as we approach some resistance in XBI. Transports, let's move back to the weekly chart. Transports are still not being able to take the 5-week moving average, so still nothing to do here. And same with industrials, not able to take that yet. Utilities got rejected in this kind of sell zone or an area of huge transactions. So nothing of interest in XLU yet. We will see how this develops as it moves through this resistance over here. XLV was interesting. We had a bit of a pullback today, but that pullback tested the 5-day moving average. And after that 5-day test at the 139.87 mark, it seems to have rebounded. So the trend is still intact for the breakout in XLV, and it's looking good so far. XME, metals and mining, so far has not been able to take the 5-week and is looking like one of the weaker sectors because it's not even trying, right? And it's not able to get above the 5-day. Even though the rest of the market was rallying, it kept hitting into the 5-day and selling off. So XME looking a little bit weak so far. So I'm going to kind of move this at the bottom here. All right. XLV, we talked about. XLF. XLF touched this kind of sell area with the peaking transactions that we saw, where the sellers have taken control in the past. The sellers are back at it again so far. It doesn't mean it can't. The trend is still positive. We're starting to lose the 5-day, and multiple closures below the 5-day would weaken this trend. The 20-day you can see is not too far away to act as support and bring this up. But the first step for XLF would be a closure above the 38 level and into this red area. But that would be an area of caution and mostly probably very noisy trade or volatile trade through this area as we get through some previous sell zones here. And a break of say 39 or 40 for XLF then would be a much cleaner longer term trade that you can do. ITB had an interesting day. We can see on the weekly as well, the area that we had marked did act as demand, and it has taken back the 5-week moving average. The 5-week for ITB stands at 100.78, and we are at 101.36, so a bit above the 5-week. So the first step would be a closure here above the 5-week, and we can see that the 5-day is starting to point up, which is a good sign. 20-day is pointing up, And soon, if price maintains above the 5-day, the 5-day should cross over the 20-day and resume this trend. So marking it as green for now, because it could be a potential area. Home builders, home construction could be a potential area for a trend continuation to the upside. XLY, let's move back to the weekly chart. XLY is still waiting for that 5-week to be taken. It has not, and while other areas have, so marking still as red. It is on the weaker side. Microcaps, there's a lot of resistance here with the 200-week and the 5-week, both in a very similar spot. So our alert still remains at the 114-ish mark. So a closure above that would be step number 1 to IWC. XLE, further sell-off today. We did report for the past few days some weakness and a weaker trend in XLE. And so far that is kind of playing out. So nothing to do here unless you are looking to short, then XLE could be a candidate. But otherwise, nothing to do until we can retake this bottom trend line, and a retaking somewhere around the 95-98 mark can then open some bullishness into the 130 mark. That would be a possible trade similar to something like this. But so far, we are below the trend line. We broke, we retested, and now we're breaking back down. So far, it is pointing printing more bearish than bullish. XME we already looked at, and to end, just take a look at what the exchange rates are doing. So USD CAD is a pair I follow, and so that is just flat for the day, negative 0.05%. We are above this long-term trend line here, and this 1.32 zone was an area where buyers have recommitted in the past and seems to have recommitted again. A loss at trend line here, the red one, which is somewhere under 1.335 mark, would mean that it is possible that we have a second retest, similar to how we went up and then we retested and then came up here in the USD CAD pair back in June. We could have a similar type of retest before a breakout. But so far, if you look at it, it's very sideways action between the 1.38 and the 1.32 zone for USD CAD. Okay, and let's take a look at some selected stocks. So Tesla, not looking that great so far. This week, we have lost this trend line. Now being closed, especially closing below it, it would start acting as resistance, similar to how it has acted as resistance in the past. I know there's a lot of lines drawn, so let me simplify this chart for you. So you can see that we tested, we broke, we retested this bottom trend line, and now we're breaking down again. So this points similar to XLE. This is pointing and printing currently bearish. We are currently at some support, so we are 200-day is moving up right underneath here, and could be a possible areas for buyers to commit to this stock. But until it takes back at least this trend line, which is not too far away, you can look 234 through 235. It needs to take back the trend line and close above that 235 zone, which could possibly enter into a retest of the 250 and the 275 areas. So it could do something like this and then fall back down. But until it maintains a position below, a price below this trend line, that would still print, look at a bearish angle. NVIDIA had a breakout earlier this week, and it is continuing that breakout, and it's holding that breakout so far. We can see that on the weekly, we've thought about it before, and a super exuberant level would be somewhere around the 690, 700 mark if the market starts moving up, this could very easily go up and test that, and that would be kind of the extreme bullish level for Nvidia, or euphoric level for Nvidia, which would be the point of caution, which it has caused major sell-offs in the past. And this is going into prediction territory, so take it for that, what it is. It's not meant to trade on, but it's just sometimes fun to do some predictions. So here we move up to the 683, and if we were to retest, we could, while this AVWAP level comes up, we could come back to the 300 zone somewhere here where there has been tight consolidation in the past for Nvidia. So even like this top, the previous high here could be retested again. But so far, printing bullish, and the breakout is in process. So a closure this week above this level of the breakout at 504 to 506 would mean that we could move higher into the 680 to 700 range for Nvidia. ARM so far is having a hard time with this 5-week. It tried to take it, but it failed, and it's right below it. So putting an alert here at the 5-week. Putting alert at the 5-week would. I guess it's pretty close already. So it's the alert already triggered. So I'm going to put an alert a little bit above here to keep an eye on how ARM responds to the 5-week. Is it the resistance like takes it down, or does it push through, buyers push through the 5-week resistance and bring it up? So a stock that I've been interested in, it had an IPO at somewhere around the 70 mark, and it sold off, but it formed this kind of a cup handle type pattern, and a breakout here would be interesting for ARM. Some of the other stocks, MOD is an interesting. They have some EV. It's also an EV play. It has some electric vehicle technology as well. A large base here for MOD, and supporting the 5-week and the 20-week, supporting this breakout here, and it is a potential point for a further breakout in MOD. SYK similar. We have the weekly closure so far, with the being in the third day of the week. So far, we are trying to close above these previous sell points, which is bullish. And I would look for a weekly closure above that 305 level in SYK. Groupon had a bit of a sell-off today, and I would like to see a closure above that 13.8 level that we've discussed in the past, and that comes from actually, I'll take that back. So a closure above 12.71, which is the yearly high, would still print bullish for Groupon. So far it has sold off a bit today, but so far still holding the yearly value, and the moving averages catching up. The weekly moving average is catching up to support it underneath. So still looking good. A bit of a sell-off today, 3.5%, but the trend is still intact to the upside. Okay, I think that would be all for today, and I will catch you guys tomorrow. Thanks.